This video is presented in virtual reality. Be sure to watch with the YouTube mobile app, Google Cardboard, or any compatible VR viewing device, or things will look a little wonky. Hi. Pardon the 3D avatar, this was the only way that I could make this video work. Let's talk about the past, present, and future of virtual reality entertainment. Consumer VR has come a long way since the early days of the Nintendo Virtual Boy. Sure, the general idea existed before even then, but when the Virtual Boy released in 1995, it was the first real mass-market major gaming console capable of displaying stereoscopic 3D graphics. Back then, the technology was limited to a red monochrome display, using a parallax effect to create the illusion of depth. It was a highly sophisticated technology at the time, but nowadays, improvements in 360-degree display have become ubiquitous. Companies like Oculus, Valve, and even Google are investing millions and even billions of dollars into the next evolution of the technology, and the more that VR platforms become democratized, the more independent creators, including myself, are jumping at the chance to play in the sandbox. But VR, like all other developing platforms, is experiencing growing pains. I've created some virtual reality content on my YouTube channel for third-party developers, and I've even had my work featured in a major South Korean festival in 2016. I was one of the early adopters of the technology when it came to YouTube, but despite the fact that I believe 360-degree video has great potential, there are plenty of things that continue to hold it back. Today, I'm going to share 3 major beefs I have with VR as a storytelling device. The first is less an issue with the medium and more a meta issue with the current VR industry. There are tons of companies out there vying to be the go-to VR viewing platform, but very few of them seem concerned with actually providing worthwhile VR content. And this has played a large part in the current struggles of the medium. After all, imagine it in terms of the traditional film experience. Why pour billions of dollars into building movie theaters, but invest almost nothing into producing actual movies? By the same token, as a filmmaker, I really wish companies would stop focusing so much on developing VR platforms and start focusing more on developing VR programming. The internet is full of virtual reality demos showing off the technology possible, but legitimate, long-form stories told through the medium are hard to come by. And the truth is, as it stands right now, there just aren't a lot of stories being told through 360-degree video. The stories that are being told are often relegated to obscure, industry-specific venues. One of the reasons that the very few VR films that are out there seem to exist mainly as art pieces at galleries or film festivals is simply because nobody is developing these films to be viewed or screened to a mass-market audience. Now, don't get me wrong, documentaries are a great way to use VR filmmaking. It allows the viewer to see things from a first-person perspective, something they can't get from traditional filmmaking. But the medium will never find major success until stories that you might find in a more traditional setting are developed with this new technology in mind. VR films will never be accepted by mainstream audiences until VR films are marketed to mainstream audiences. But this is hard to do when you consider some of the challenges the medium brings with it. For instance, beef number 2, the point of view problem. Obviously, the defining feature of virtual reality is the ability to become totally immersed in the scene. If you want the viewer to feel cramped, you can make it happen simply by putting them in a cave. If you want them to feel awe, you can make it happen by putting them on a mountaintop. If you want them to feel like they're falling, you can make it happen by dropping them from the sky. Look out! Sorry, dumb joke. You get the point though, right? By putting the viewer into the very center of the action, they can feel totally immersed and are naturally encouraged to explore the scene around them. The only problem is, In a linear form of narration, like film, you want the viewer to focus on a specific thing at a specific time. When you go to a movie theater to watch the latest blockbuster flick, the audience is all looking at the same screen and taking in the same image. During the film, we know that the director will make specific choices in lighting, framing, and editing, cutting a specific way to show you a precise moment, a precise angle, and a precise piece of information so that they can continually unfold the tale. But in a 360-degree environment, you really don't have any control over what the audience members choose to look at, and it's incredibly difficult to channel the viewer's attention to a specific direction. I mean, there are several workarounds to this, but if you have to keep using visual cues to direct their eyes to a certain spot, then what's the point of even having the total environment available to look at in the first place? And what if they miss those visual cues and fail to see an important bit of information because they just happen to, look away from where the director wanted them to look? You might think such a worry is overblown, but consider the fact that there's a dinosaur right behind you and you're likely only just now noticing it because I'm telling you. It's a whole new paradigm of storytelling, and it remains to be seen whether or not traditional narrative structures can work in such a setting. Lastly, consider the problem of producing the content altogether in what we'll call the technological entry barrier. There are two main ways to create a VR film, either by capturing a panorama in live action or by employing computer animation in a 3D environment. Both of these have pros and cons. If you're looking for the best overall image quality, something that's future-proofed, 3D animation provides you with an ample amount of resolution and the ability to perfect every single angle of your scene, but 3D animation takes a long time to make, and as any animator will tell you, a lot of cheating goes on even when animating a traditional movie. Specific camera angles are chosen to cut down the necessary animations needed, and you can hide a multitude of unpolished work through editing. But a total 360-degree environment means that you'll need to have every inch of the scene animated to perfection. It's a tall order. So maybe you'll instead elect to save time by shooting everything live action. But again, it's hard enough to direct a scene when you're allowed to sit right behind the camera. If you've got to hide from it completely so that you can record a complete surrounding, directing the picture becomes that much more difficult. And unless you want to manually stitch a ton of angles together with traditional cameras, which is its own headache, the available options for VR capturing devices is extremely small. The affordable prosumer options have terrible image quality, and the camera models that can pass for professional use cost way more than most folks are willing to invest in an unproven medium. Not to mention the fact that VR headsets for the end user are pretty expensive and require a big chunk of change to own themselves. All of these contributing factors are a large part of why you just haven't seen very many quality VR movies. In truth, VR can probably find its best use in interactive, real-time video game environments. But here's the rub. Many gaming households have simply refused to adopt VR as an extension of the consoles that they're currently using. My thoughts? VR does have a place in entertainment. It could be a welcome addition to failing arcades across the country looking to entice customers back to their establishments. Why more arcades haven't invested in immersive, co-op virtual reality party games is beyond me. It seems like the perfect match. The truth is, I'd love to create more VR content. I really would, but until some of these more common hurdles are able to be cleared, I guess I'll be limited to a flat screen. Special thanks to this video's sponsor, Dashlane. Isn't it time that you got secure? Dashlane protects your online accounts by providing a tool that generates strong passwords. It stores them in memory and autofills on whatever site you want across all of your devices. Their premium version provides dark web monitoring. You can keep an eye on up to 5 email accounts, and they'll alert you if any personal info is found on the dark web. This powerful service scans more than 12 billion records records from hacks and data breaches, with almost 1 million new records added every day. You can use Dashlane and even try Premium for free with this special offer. Follow the link in the description to get set up. Go to dashlane.com/AustinMcConnell and you can try Premium for a whole month. Want to stick with it after that? Then use the promo code AustinMcConnell at checkout for 10% off.